No more St. John Ambulance for New Brunswick. And St. Johners won't be dialing 911.
MITV 11 o'clock news with Steve Bone.
Good evening. Those stories in a moment, but first, Westfield RCMP say they've solved the mystery of why a woman's clothing was found beside a beaver pond near the village. The Mounties say they received a phone call this afternoon from a family in Woodstock. The family says while traveling on the highway, their 15-year-old daughter became very ill. They stopped the car beside the pond, removed the girl's soiled clothing, left it there, and drove off. The mystery sparked by the clothing prompted a day-long search of the area Wednesday after a fisherman found the clothes the previous day. Corporal Harold Matthews says all that's left is for the family to identify the clothing, and the case will be closed. Calling an ambulance in New Brunswick got a little more difficult today. The St. John Ambulance has announced it doesn't have enough volunteers to run the service that provides emergency medical assistance to 25 communities across the province. Lauren Daltrop reports.
St. John Ambulance has been providing volunteer ambulance service across the province for the last 44 years. But now that tradition is about to end.
Effective in mid-September of this year, that St. John Ambulance will be withdrawing its volunteer ambulance services.
Eric Rector says the organization can't find enough volunteers. The ambulance service has 400 fully trained emergency medical personnel, but he says it's not enough. Rector says not enough people are able to find the time for the 250 hours of training it takes to be properly qualified.
As the pressures have mounted and the demands on their time, both from families and jobs and training, we've seen a situation where despite our best efforts, the core isn't there. The sufficient numbers aren't there.
Right now, ambulance service is also provided by a hodgepodge of private operators
and the 7 healthcare regions across the province. The health minister says right now it costs taxpayers about $815,000 to help run St. John Ambulance each year. Without it, Dr. Russ King says the price tag will simply go up.
This will probably result in about increased costs, probably double that in order to make this happen.
The town of Shediac is covered by a St. John Ambulance volunteer service. The deputy mayor was shocked by today's announcement.
We've come to depend on their services, and with them disappearing out of the picture now, we're left holding the bags, or we're going to have to find an alternative.
Meantime, the St. John Ambulance Board of Directors say they still plan to maintain a key presence in New Brunswick. With 1,300 active volunteers, Eric Rector says their volunteers will continue to offer training courses in first aid and CPR and provide medical coverage at special events. In St. John, Lauren Daltrop, MITV News.
And still with emergency health care tonight, MITV News has learned the St. John area will not be part of the province's new 911 ambulance dispatch system. Kevin Baban with that story.
Male having chest pain, 163 Somerset Street, respond hot.
Within a couple of months, the dispatching of ambulances in the St. John area will go from here to here.
As a report of a motor vehicle leaking gasoline, Chipman Hill parking garage, 44 Chipman Hill, apparatus assigned engine 1.
When word that a center for ambulance dispatch in the province would be established in Moncton, Region 2 had some concerns. For one reason, Region 2 was well on its way to establishing its own ambulance dispatch as part of an enhanced 911 system.
Do we really need to go, Region 2 really need to go back to square one, or does it make sense for us to continue to go ahead and do what we were doing and have already halfway done anyway?
The government agreed with this region's position. This week, Region 2 learned they can go it alone.
They have advanced along to the point where they're able to dispatch fire, police, and ambulance together. No other area of the province is ready to do that yet. So that's a key component of doing that. It's a key strength on their part, and we think there's some validity in letting them go ahead on their own.
There is another advantage of this decision, according to HEFFERN. When an emergency requires a 3-tiered response, the police, the fire, and the ambulance will be dispatched from one location.
Having the capability to centrally manage your resources and dispatch and whatnot will certainly help us go a long way towards achieving the response targets that were there.
The new ambulance dispatch could be up and running sometime in June. The long-term plan is to have all of Region 2 from St. Stephen to Sussex on the system. In St. John, Kevin Babin, MITV News.
Well, it was just a prop to be used in a school play, but it launched its own mini-drama. A St. John school bus driver saw a student on his bus carrying what looked like a submachine gun. The driver stopped the bus and called police. Paul McLaughlin picks up the story.
It happened April 17th. Some students were bringing a few props in for a play. They had a disassembled paintball pistol and a replica of a Thompson submachine gun. The weapons were in a bag when the students boarded the bus. When the machine gun was taken out of the bag to show other students, things got exciting.
We took a couple, they were fake guns on the bus, they were coming for a play. And my bus driver seen them, and he must have thought they were real or something, so he stopped the bus, called the police.
The replica Tommy gun had no bullets, and the barrel was plugged. An official with the driver's union says running a school bus is a tough job. The driver saw a potential for trouble and acted.
To look in the mirror and see what looks like a real gun causes much concern and causes immediate reaction to have to be taken.
I was just in the back, whatever, and I was with him. And when the police came to that vote with us, whatever, we went off the bus to verify that they weren't being pointed at nobody or they weren't being used in a threatened manner.
Pointing even a fake firearm is a serious matter, and police had to check it out. Still, it made for an interesting report to Nathan's teacher.
She's like, oh my God. She came in the office, and she seen the police standing by me and the gun right there, and she just kind of shook her head. And then she sat down. She goes, I better sit down before I fall down.
If students are being asked to bring anything into the classroom that even resembles a firearm, there's got to be communication so that the student, the school bus driver, and the teacher all realize what's going on here.
The students say they've learned a lesson. Events such as the recent massacre of students in Scotland show even fake guns must be handled with care. The driver had no comment on the incident.
Gotta go.
Okay.
In St. John, Paul McLaughlin, MITV News.
A senior Bathurst City police officer and his union are fuming tonight over a news release handed out by the city yesterday. The release details charges laid against Detective Sergeant BLAIR Boucher under the New Brunswick Police Act. They include use of abusive language, being disrespectful toward the public, and using his position as a police officer for private advantage. The union says releasing the information isn't fair, especially since the city withheld details of allegations made against the chief when he was being investigated by the New Brunswick Police Commission.
What basically this press release says is that there are 3 serious charges under the Police Act. The charges have in fact been made public by the city of Bathurst, apparently with the knowledge of the mayor. That's somewhat different than what they've done with the police chief, because these are serious allegations against the police chief, none of which have been made public.
Just go back to the beginning. My name was slandered over the radio in reference to criminal charges. That is not done to any of the private citizens in this country and or other policemen and women in this country. But it was chose to be done by the administration of the police department, and now it leads up right up to the mayor of this city.
Boucher was suspended after an alleged incident at a local nightclub in January. City officials have declined to comment. A discipline hearing won't be held until May 31st. The Reform Party faces more criticism tonight for what's being called a racist comment made at a party meeting last night. The president of the Fundy Royal Riding Association got into trouble when referring to the number of immigrants in Western Canada. Jerry Webster says he didn't intend for the remark to be racist.
No, not at all. The question arose about the different makeup of Canada as far as the French-English makeup is, and the Reform Party has taken the position that we shouldn't be a French-English bilingual country in that respect. It should be a provincial matter, and the comment was a result of what I meant by that, and it was simply that in BC there's far more Chinese than there are French. In Toronto there's far more East Indians than there are French. And somebody said, well, where's the boundary between the two? And I said, along the Fraser River somewhere. And it was not meant in any ethnic way. We were talking about the different parts of the country, how there was different languages and cultures.
Webster says the fuss over his remarks and remarks made by national reform politicians is being used to take attention away from what he says are the real national issues, such as the GST change. Well, World News is coming up in just a few minutes. From Ottawa tonight, a free vote supports banning discrimination based on sexual orientation. That story and more in World News. But first, Judy Powell joins us with a busy week ahead in show buzz.
Yeah, this week and next seem to be all abuzz with show business news there, Steve. More than 300 talented high school students from across New Brunswick will take part in the Best of the Best. This gala fundraiser for the St. John Regional Hospital will take place this coming Monday and Tuesday at the Imperial Theatre. Students will perform excerpts from musicals like The King and I and Oliver. Tickets are available at the Imperial Theatre box office, Harbor Station, and all Irving Convenience Store ticket outlets. And we showed you the trailer about a month ago. Well, the movie's finally here. Twister opens across the Maritimes tomorrow. The makers of this movie about the real-life storm chasers went to the source for expertise and visuals for this one.
Here's a movie that's going to be about tornadoes. It's going to be shot in the heart of Tornado Alley in the midst of tornado season. And I think there probably was some concern that tornadoes were something they might have to deal with, which, you know, would be hazardous to the health of the crew, the property, et cetera, et cetera. I told them that that was highly unlikely. I mean, you know, there was about that small of a chance of there even seeing a tornado, much less being hit by one.
Debris, Dusty, we have debris! Debris! Right! Left!
Looks like a good one. Finally tonight, you may want to get up early next week to watch Good Morning America. The Good Morning crew makes a whirlwind coast-to-coast Canadian tour starting in Victoria on Monday, Jasper, Alberta on Tuesday, Ottawa on Wednesday, Quebec City on Thursday, and Lunenburg, Nova Scotia on Friday. That's your show buzz for this week. It'll be, I think it's kind of exciting that Good Morning America is coming here. Probably one of the best, as you've mentioned, PR tourism things that Canada has seen in a long time.
I'm sure tourism operators are much more excited than any of us could ever be. I'm predicting it's probably going to be one of the biggest boosts to tourism that this entire country has ever seen. I mean,
well, yeah, we talked about the...
it may sound overblown to say that,
yeah.
But I mean, the audience that show has.
Well, we talked about the G7, how important that was, that people saw a little bit of Atlantic Canada just during the G7 coverage.
Right.
But I will tell you that there's probably more people that are bound to be tourists watching Good Morning America than probably that probably watch the news coverage. And of course, they're going to all the most beautiful, some of the most beautiful tourist destinations in Canada.
Yeah,
so it's pretty nice. Actually, I'm really excited to wake up and listen to it just to see what they say about Canada, because sometimes Americans really have
kind of a distorted view
sometimes,
of the country.
Yeah, you know, they might wonder where our igloos are and where the polar bears are.
I'm sure
and
it'll
elk
be
crossing the
entertaining
streets.
as well as beneficial.
Yeah, and I
too.
believe they've lined up some really good Canadian entertainment and stuff along the lines there too. So it'll be a lot of
How
fun.
could they miss? There's so much.
No kidding. Yeah.
What about the weather for the weekend? Is it too early to say? Or,
yeah, we're missing that one.
We hope it's too early to say because it's probably not looking that
You know,
great
Monday everything looks so good, and now by today being Thursday, it looks like it's going to rain this weekend. So anyway, we'll have more details coming up for you a little bit later on in the cast.
All right, thanks, Judy. World News is next. Then the up and down world of gas prices. Not so long ago, we were telling you about rock bottom prices. Well, tonight's story heads the other way. We'll bring you the sordid details later tonight. Tonight in World News, from Ottawa, a free vote on gay rights legislation and a call for another look at assisted suicides. And in the U.S., storms and floodwaters ravage several states.
It's possible for anyone to raise a new point with respect to these issues.
Amendments outlawing discrimination based on sexual orientation have passed through the House of Commons. The Liberals granted MPs a free vote on the controversial issue. Despite 29 Liberals voting against the bill, the government, with the support of the Bloc Québécois, easily won the third reading ballot, 153 to 76. Meantime, New Democrat MP Sven Robinson says it's time for another free vote in the Commons, this time on the issue of right-to-die legislation. His call follows Monday's assisted suicide of Austin Bastable. The Windsor, Ontario MS victim traveled to Michigan, where he committed suicide in the presence of Dr. Jack Kevorkian. Robinson was present at the death of Sue Rodriguez, Canada's best-known assisted suicide activist. Assisted suicide is against the law in Canada. Thunderstorms packing hail, high winds, and hard rain have pounded the U.S. midsection and Ohio Valley. The storms spawned tornadoes, flash floods, and mudslides that forced hundreds of people to evacuate. The evening storms came on the heels of a wave of storms that tore through sections of Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa. Almost 15 centimeters of rain fell across several states. That's the world in brief for this Thursday. And Judy Powell joins us now with the complete weather forecast. Judy?
Well, we have some rain on the way, Steve, but hopefully not as much rain as they're having in that area. Good evening, everyone. We do have increasing cloudiness tonight across all of New Brunswick. We're looking at overnight lows tonight, about 5 degrees to the south, between 3 and 5 degrees to the north. Southeasterly winds between 20 and 30 kilometers an hour. A little bit windier down the southern parts of the province. We're looking at clear skies tonight, and with those clear skies come cool temperatures for Prince Edward Island, 0 the overnight low. Tomorrow, the clouds start moving into the region first thing in the morning. We will probably have light rain in all parts of New Brunswick by tomorrow afternoon, around noontime or so. Highs tomorrow, 12 degrees for St. John, 14 in Fredericton, 16 in Moncton. To the north, for the Bathurst-Acadian Peninsula area, we're looking at highs anywhere between 14 and 17 degrees. Edmundston will reach a high of 13. Southerly winds will be quite strong tomorrow, so it will be wet and windy between 30 and 50 kilometers an hour. PEI may see a little bit of sunshine in the morning before the clouds take over. They will bring showers late tomorrow evening, highs of 12 degrees on the island. 3-day forecast looks like this. Unfortunately, on Saturday, we see clouds and showers for both provinces. Very windy on Saturday in New Brunswick as well. Highs only between 9 and 16 degrees. For Sunday, continuing clouds and showers. Look at the highs in PEI. Only 6 degrees on Sunday, so quite a bit cooler. On Monday, we are back to clearer skies. Once again, we're looking at sunshine in New Brunswick, highs to 16 degrees. Prince Edward Island will have variable skies or slow clearing. Overnight lows 2, highs to 9 degrees. We're continuing our ozone information session this week. In November of 1992, and this is one of the more recent counts they've been able to do, the ozone hole over the Antarctic was nearly 3 times the size of Canada, which is huge when you think about it. And it takes them a long time to get together these statistics. And that's the most recent ones that I was able to find.
But if we can manage to decrease all of the bad stuff going into the atmosphere,
it will heal.
That will heal itself. Right?
Yeah.
That's the good news. Thanks, Judy. Stay with us. The MITV 11 o'clock news continues right after the break.
You are watching MITV 11 o'clock news.
Doug Basin here now with a Sportsline preview. We got some scrappy playoff action, huh?
Yeah, we do. The Flyers and the Panthers simply have a nice hate for each other going right now in the rat trap down in Florida. A rough, tough game. Panthers come to play every night. They'll hit you every which way they can. And, of course, with guys like Lindros running around out there for the Flyers, there's going to be some bones of contention out there.
Yeah, I guess Eric just doesn't put up with it anymore, huh?
No, he actually looks to give it out, too.
Yeah,
so
they're really picking on
not
him.
a kind of guy you want to mess around with. I think it's a big mistake to get him riled.
I guess. All right, thanks, Doug.
You bet.
An unwelcome surprise when filling up your car in Moncton these days. Just when it looked as though gas prices had stabilized, prices jumped for the second time in less than a month. As Mark McNulty reports, it's been a long time since gas sold for over 60 cents a liter.
The latest increase came with little fanfare, and that's why a lot of motorists are surprised when they pull up to fill up. Most stations are charging 61.9 cents a liter for regular self-serve.
We usually do get ripped off. Consumers is always the one. They'll last to know until you get here and see the prices go up. Then when you need the gas, you have to get it, so.
So you were really taken by surprise today?
Yes, I was.
This petrol can on Mountain Road changed its prices this morning, a jump from 58.9 cents a liter. Other area stations have done the same. Bill Vance operates 2 Shell stations. He's holding out on the hike, at least for now.
most people in the Moncton market have no choice. A lot of them are controlled by the oil companies, and the oil companies call the shot as far as the price of gas goes. Not much they can do about it. They have to do what they're told. I'm an independent, so I have a little bit more flexibility, but even I have to do maybe not so much what the oil company tells me, but what my banker tells me.
Irving officials, meantime, say the reason for the increase is the price of crude oil. Back in January, it averaged around $17.50 U.S. a barrel. By the end of March, it was up to around $25 U.S. Company officials say it takes a few months before we see the impact at the pumps. As for prices going down again.
The bottom line has always been, if you don't have competition, then you've got higher prices, and that's certainly true in the gas business. Anything as competitive as we are in this trade. The more independence you have, the more probability, the higher the probability of having some gas wars and lower prices.
But Vance says the problem is there aren't that many independents left.
In Moncton, Mark McNulty, MITV News.
Costs more and more.
I know. Don't I know it?
That's our broadcast. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for Sportsline with Doug Basin. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to comment on any aspect of our news programming, write to us at MITV News, 14 Akerley Boulevard, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, B3B1J3. You can fax us at area code 902-481-7427 or send us an email. Our address is mitv@ips.ca. MITV Internet Access provided by Internet Passport Services, Halifax, Nova Scotia. This is MITV News.